Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Remember, there are no leaks in Montecito. Get it? There are no leaks in Montecito. Okay, let me say hello to a few people and we'll get started. We will get this party started. Okay, let me open up another screen so I can see what you all are seeing. That's always helpful. Okay, done, done, done. Little echo maybe. You all are seeing. That's always. That was the echo. Okay. And very good. Very good. All right. So we are good. Let me say hi to a few people. There we go. That's what's up. Perfect. All right. I love it when a plan comes together. Hello to Annie Bennett, Marcy Foreman, Connie Balmer. Welcome, Connie Balmer. Sherry Ware, um, Victoria Fabre, Mary H., Mary Jane, Black Queen, Olivia Harris, Church Nellie, Vanessa Jones, Angela Thomas, hello. And Gwendolyn Daniels wants to say hi to a few people. Hi, Annie Bennett again, Francia Mosley, Lottie, Susie Q. Susie Q, you ain't still crying from the videos yesterday, are you? You're so sensitive. I love that. Cynthia Thorpe. Um, who else is here? Karen is here. Mama Jane. Kids Indoor. Beverly Hardy wants to say hi. Let's help out. Nancy Austin. Olivia Harris. Okay, am I repeating myself? Maria Jacobs. Myra V. Janine Bell. Ronnie Vanna. Hello to Verta Sanchez. Okay. Rosanna Smith. Very cool. All right, so I'm not going to go back any further. Um, okay. Hi, Shirley Kearney. Oh, is it Kearney? Kearney. Gwendolyn Daniels was the first on here. Uh, all right, so I'm going to scroll back in the other direction. Very cool. Oh, okay. uh, Annie Bullard, hi. Dorothy Ross, hello, Dorothy Ross. Thank you for the hugs. Thank you for the hugs, Robin. Polly, yes, thank you. Thank you for being here, Sharon Augustine. All right, very good. So let's get to moving, shall we? So, a little royal news plus more crown reviews. I still have more thoughts about the crown. Um, oh man, there was like maybe two implied threats to the Princess of Wales, which a lot of you guys have heard the theories about, well, conspiracies and theories about that. So I won't go into it. I definitely don't want to be a spoiler for the. Hello, Judy Rigo, Olivia Harris. I don't want to be a spoiler for the series, but um, I finished it last night. Hi, April R. Coleman. I finished it last night, and I have to say, the last two episodes. The last two episodes seem to be a bit of a dud for my taste. And I do have some photos that I'm going to share where, of course, I was on location, Church Nelly, at one of the places that was featured in the series. So I will share those with you, whether or not Church Nelly is ready to see them, which, of course, Church Nelly is always ready to see my photos from where? Europe. Oh, and I'm always glad to oblige. Okay, so there we go. We're going to start off with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. We got a few new photos, and a few new photos of Harry and Meghan go a long way. Like, for instance, that picture of Harry there on the left side that I just cannot stop smiling about. That is such a cool photo. That enigmatic smile like that of Mona Lisa is just so cool. So I am very, very glad to have seen that because, our faves, sometimes they will kind of go and work, and we don't know what they're doing or what they're up to and everything, and as, the squad, even though we have more respect for their privacy than anybody else, we still are glad to know where they are and what they're doing and so on and so forth. So, to see the Sussexes living their best life is always comes as a relief, I'm sure. I'm relieved to see that. So, um, anyway, so that was a nice one. And of course, the photo from the what do you call it? From the actually it's from The Hague, and it's one of those photos that was taken, and we got like a kind of a hint of it, but we didn't see much of it. And so thankfully, we were able to see that for Veterans Day, which was, as per usual, very welcome by the loyal fans of Harry and Meghan. I'm not gonna just keep saying Sussex Squad because there are some people who adore them that are not squaddies, but just follow them just because. So, um, yeah, so there you go. Anyway, I'm gonna share this with you guys if I can, since I keep saying it. Well, let me see. Let me do that one. Okay, I'll do that. I just thought about something to share with you guys, and I'm yanking it right now, and I'm going to share it with you guys very, very soon. Let me see, copy image, and put that over here. All right, so there we go. Give me just a second to bring that up. There we are. So I keep saying that Harry has that kind of Mona Lisa smile going on. And when you see the comparison, boom, there you go. Now, yes, they always say that Mona Lisa has this kind of like enigmatic smile, but there you go. Not really a smile, but just kind of like a, I don't know, it could be a gesture of approval or just kind of like, can you get this over with? So there you can see the comparison between Prince Harry, which I'm sure he would probably barf if he heard somebody else say that, and that kind of Mona Lisa pose that he got going on. Anyway, uh, just thought I would share that with you since I keep saying it. All right. So, and with that, let us move on. Uh, oh, Rosalind, I saw Romanov. I didn't see where all the fear of damage to the royal family was. I didn't realize that the Romanovs were directly related to Prince Philip. Well, actually, if they're directly related to Prince Philip, then they're somewhat related to the Queen. I believe that yes, the aunt that was married to Tsar Nicholas II was, very close to Philip in terms of family, but um, the let's see, the Tsar, the Kaiser, and the King at the time of the start of World War I were all grandchildren of Queen Victoria. They all visited Queen Victoria on the Isle of Man as she was on her deathbed. So, more or less, they're all related. They're all related. And the German royal households, they were the ones that were the German nobility, they were pumping out princes and princesses left and right. And now I found out recently that the Danish royal house, to the likes of which Philip is also related, was also cranking out royals here, there, and everywhere. So they would marry these royal daughters off as a matter of maintaining a peace treaty or for other purposes of um, diplomacy. And so, yeah, they were all related to some degree or the other. And let us not forget that the Queen's uncle, the one who can't seem to stop dealing with the Russians, the Queen's not uncle, is uncle or cousin? Cousin. The Queen's cousin, um, Prince Michael of Kent, he looks just like the Tsar Nicholas II. Prince Michael of Kent and Tsar Nicholas II. They look just alike. As a matter of fact, I will show you that too. I happen to have a photo of the two of them. And I tell you, except for digital photography compared to whatever ancient photography they use, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Let me see. Kent. Oh, there we go. There we go. Um, okay. You wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Okay. Oh, let's just see. It's so much. Which one to show you? Which one to show you? Oh, I tell you what. Maybe I'll do this. I will do this since there's so many. I'll just do one of my little uh, gimmicks here. Then I can show you better. Uh, well, I tell you what. These are interesting topics. If you are a fan of certain royals or not, it is rather interesting because it kind of plays out like a soap opera. And I, for one, am not embarrassed to say that I get a kick out of this stuff. Um, but then again, I have to say also that because of the way the Sussexes were treated, a lot of those in the various royal household have fallen out of favor with me, and I'm sure that keeps them up at night. So, as I mentioned, okay, there you go. There you go. Thank you, Rosalind Gaywood, for your comment. There is Tsar Nicholas II on the left, and there is Prince Michael of Kent. That's the one that's married to the U-boat captain. And here is a variety of photos where you can see the resemblance. And it was also, actually, well, over the years, quite a few times, as you can see from that bottom right photo, when they actually had a proper Christian burial of the Romanov family remains, the the uh, Prince Michael of Kent was actually invited as a relative of the Tsar Nicholas II. So the resemblance is right on point, right down to the hairline. So there you have it. Of course, he didn't actually play that up. And well, there you are on that second to the left photo at the top. He didn't really play it up so much. But yeah, that bloodline runs thick. That bloodline runs very, very thick. Okay. So again, Rosalind, thank you so much for mentioning that. Let's get back over here to present day. Let me see. I'm happy the younger people had a chance to see married Charles with his mistress. I promise you, we're going to get into that. I don't want to go in that direction too soon, but we are going to get into that. Let me see, Baron. If the fellow everything the if they I'm sorry, if they follow everything the Sussexes do, they are fans. That is so true, Sherry, where if you are following just like some of the hate watchers of this channel that eventually can't contain themselves and leave some snarky comment that we have to remove, or actually thank you to the mod squad for removing those comments. If some of those hate watchers cannot contain themselves, they actually leave comments. But I have to tell you, there's quite a few people that are hate watchers and subscribe and watch every day. And by the way, hate watchers, please don't forget to hit the like button and please share with the other haters, please. Anyway, thank you all for watching Royal Sussex. Thank you, Sherry Ware. Okay. Hi, Cookies and Creams. Cookies and Creams wants to say hi to a few people. Uh, Church Nelly wants to call a breed a breed. Nothing shady about that they're all cousins. And besides, who doesn't like a little, hemophilia in the family, right? A little hemophilia? Who doesn't want that in the family? Which occurs when two people, share that same trait in their bloodline, and they were married together even though they were, both descendants of Queen Victoria. Who doesn't want that? See there? Because of that connection between Tsar Nicholas II and marrying, um, Philip's aunt, was it? Philip's aunt. That is why that common trait, which came from Queen Victoria, was able to connect because they were too closely related. Oh, that's disgusting. And guys, let's be fair. We did have enough of that here. One of the things that some of the aristocrats brought to the United States, like the Roosevelt family, you guys do know that um, Eleanor Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt were what, second, third cousins or something like that. Eleanor Roosevelt never had any other name than Eleanor Roosevelt. She didn't go through a name change on marriage. So there were a lot of people that were kind of well off here that would do the same thing. Some of those Mayflower people and such. Yuck. Okay. So now that I have grossed everyone out, let us move on, shall we? Let me see. Well, happy Saturday, Duchess of Success. Elaine Parker, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. And also, thank you so much for being a member. Greatly appreciate it. All right. Oh, you guys are just ready to get into the trenches, aren't you? I got to stop looking at the comments. It was an interesting seeing how Camilla's husband allowed her conversation with Charles. It was interesting how her children looked when she left the game to talk with Charles. Now, if that alleged event happened on this docudrama, which, of course, as far as I'm concerned, is as much as a documentary, then yes, that was interesting, wasn't it, Angela Thomas? I was like, what shade? Stephen Black, welcome back. Now, Stephen, I saw um your photo from Halloween, and dare I say, you looked magnificent. I thought it was so awesome. But anyway, yeah. Thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. But yeah, Stephen, that was awesome. I was like, wow. I was just so impressed by that. So, thank you so much, and happy Saturday to you. Rosalind Gatewood says, that's where all those hate, genes come from too. They are naturally jealous. Hate genes, Rosalind. Hate genes. I didn't know there was a such a thing as well, I mean, well, of course, that's why some people are so racist, right? But I didn't know that hate gene worked like that too. Oh, you caught me off guard with that one. That's where all those hate genes come from. I love it. Thank you so much, Rosalind, and thank you for calling it like it is. All right, so a couple more photos that we didn't see until this week. Well, the one photo on the left is new, and that is our Duchess voting because as a royal, as a senior royal, and yes, haters, she is still a senior royal who has happened to have stepped back from royal duty. The senior royal is wearing an Archwell hat, which some people have been looking for, but is not available to the general public, even though someone on Australian television seems to believe that they were selling merchandise on the Archwell website, which is a huge lie. Now, that is a lie. He was able to find something that nobody else could find. As a matter of fact, Royal Suitor actually called him out for it, um, by posting the video and, of course, alerting all of us. Right, Annie Bullard, if we could just find that button on the Archwell page for merchandise, we'd all have an Archwell hat and a cup holder and all the rest of the stuff that goes along with the Archwell page. But since it doesn't exist, I guess, oh well, we won't have an opportunity to have those things. But this person lied, just flat out lied and said that he saw it on the Archwell page or that it exists on the Archwell page, and it does not. That was a big fat lie. I love calling liars out. But that was a big fat lie, as usual, just to disparage the Sussexes and to make up things that don't exist for the benefit of trying in an attempt to make them look bad. So it was a big fat lie. It has been exposed as a lie. And I get to say that he was lying when he said that because it does not exist. There is no button on the page where one could go and find a, what do you call it? The merchandise for the, um that'd be just like me saying, "Oh, there is a button on my page where you can find the Not My King, shirt." Or even better, you might even be able to find like, what if I had a button on my page where you could just push the button and the Not My King guy just shows up at your front door? Now, how many people would use that button if it was there? Let me see a show of hands. But since that button does not exist, then hot guy in the form-fitting yellow shirt is not going to just show up because you push the button. And this is not some little petty excuse just to show the not my king guy. This was not some petty excuse just to show the not my king guy, but I'm just using that as a reference to say that if that were possible, which of course we all know it is not, but if that were possible, then of course everybody would be pushing the Not My King, uh, very fit guy in the tight yellow T-shirt, with the protruding pectoral muscles and the amazing shoulders. Everybody would be using that button, I'm sure. Can I segue or what? Okay, Alan Vernon says, I think Netflix should have called The Crown a documentary using royal insiders and unnamed sources. Yes, Alan Vernon, I agree. It is in as much a documentary. So, yes, I agree. They should have called it a documentary, citing unnamed sources and insiders. I think that is more than fair. Thank you so much for the super chat. And as usual, thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Now, if that button did exist, we would all be able to find that hat. And of course, there's a one of those steel drink bottles that also exists, right? But only that guy on the oh, you know what? I can't find it. I thought it was just after that one, but no, anyway, only that guy on the Australian television was able to see something that we couldn't. So, yep, I don't have him handy, unfortunately, but I still have this photo just in case you guys want to read the text on his muscles, on his shirt again. There it is, just in case, because sometimes with the curvature of the well-defined, chest area, the text, uh, actually becomes small. It actually becomes smaller in some places, and then it stretches in others, so just to make sure that you guys can, examine the text clearly, I'll just leave it there for a couple of seconds. All right. So, with that being said, yes, the Australian television is full of lies. And of course, there seems to be some kind of hate vendetta against the Sussexes for whatever reason. Is like they are trying to outdo the British tabloid haters, and it's really pathetic. There should be no place for that on television, but those non-journalists, um, that you know how they are. So anyway, let's get back over to the unseen photos. So the one on the right, of course, is from Dusseldorf. They launched that new train that they are going to run all the way up until let me see, until the Invictus Games, which is really cool. So they put one of those wraps on the train. Now, I worked someplace in the past where they used to wrap the buses, and I the contract to wrap those vehicles, like one train car, uh, could have, well, you know what? I don't know how much it costs in Germany, so let me say that. But to wrap a bus here, and to go through the ad company and everything, it can cost like tens of thousands of dollars. To wrap a car can cost $5 to $10,000. So imagine how much it costs to wrap a bus or a train. So those wraps are very expensive, but they don't damage the vehicle surface at all. But and they wear very well. I mean, they will last for years in some cases with very minimal damage. So there you go. And then there's Harry at the controls of one of those trains, and it seems as though he was presented with a model train or toy train. We have actually, I don't have the close up photo of it, but I believe he was presented with a model of the train. So that was very cool. Again, very cool to see the Sussexes happy, see them living their best life, doing their thing. And also, let me just say, for those of you guys that voted this week, thank you so much for your vote. It is so important to the future of our society. And thank you for participating. For those of you who, for whatever reason, could not, or to protect your mental health, you were avoiding it. There's always next time, but take care of yourself first. But also thank you, everyone who did vote. All right. And then this photo, you can see the wrap on the train in the background. It has the logo for the Invictus Games, but that is the wrap that's on the trains for the Invictus game coming up in what, just about 11 months, I would imagine. Well, no, might even be a little over 10 months because they were there in September, right? So yeah, September. Yeah, so 11 months or so. That's when it start, or less, should I say. That is when the Invictus game starts. So looking forward to that. All right, and moving on. How the royal visit helped weaken the crown's grip on the Caribbean. Now, this is an article that I saw in the National, and this article really lays it out. Uh, Quite embarrassing to the Cambridges, they were known at the time. Quite embarrassing to them, um, because once they made that ill-fated trip to the Caribbean, I think that that helped to contribute to a surge in the cry for reparations and independence. If you guys remember, it was Prince William and Princess Catherine the Great that went to the Caribbean, and it all started out because they were trying to, relive the visit of the Queen and Philip from what, the 1960s. Were they there? How embarrassing for them. It was absolutely embarrassing. How the royal visit helped weakened the Crown's grip on the Caribbean. William and Kate's springtime tour didn't spark the movement, or should I say, didn't spark the movement for independence and reparations in the Caribbean, but it did stoke it, of course, as in stoke the flames. Um, on Tuesday, March the 15th, 6 months ago, the death of the Queen Elizabeth II. Uh, I'm gonna say, I'm sorry. On Tuesday, well, that's weird. Okay, on Tuesday, March 15th, 6 months before the death of Queen Elizabeth II, would it reignite a conversation about the British Crown's colonial legacy. The chairman of the Indian Creek, an indigenous Mayan village in southern Belize, received a call. A police officer told Sebastian Shaw, the chairman, that the village would have to cut down trees bordering a soccer field in the next few days because a helicopter would be landing there. Despite press, um, despite being pressed by Shaw, the officer refused to give any information, and that's what I missed the first go around with that visit to the Caribbean, is that they instructed them to cut down trees, but they wouldn't tell them why. And these trees were part of a playground that were used by the indigenous people who you could already imagine have been pushed around for what, 200 years or whatever. So, this is our land, and this is where we live. And next thing you know, someone who wants to have a photo shoot tells them to cut down the trees. Well, anyway, the article goes on to say the next day, Shaw received a call from a woman representing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She apologized for not providing information sooner and told him that the visitors would be Prince William and his wife, Kate Middleton, who would be traveling to Belize, Jamaica, and the Bahamas the following week to celebrate Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee, marking her 70 years on the throne. Although the three countries fought for independence from the crown, they have not been republics like Barbados, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. Instead, they remain, along with the majority of countries in the Caribbean, part of the British Commonwealth, with the British monarch as the head of state. Each country has a British High Commission in its capital and a Governor General who represents the monarch in overseas territories as a government executive. That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, they still have a Governor General, kind of like the Viceroy of India, someone to represent the crown in 2022. And so anyway, that is how all that stuff kicked off in Belize. And by the time they got to Jamaica, the well, anyway, you guys remember the Cambridges ended up losing half of the Commonwealth. that ending part where it says, "Hey Google, how do I get the Commonwealth back?" That was a contribution from Stephen Black, who you have seen in the comments earlier. Thank you again for that. And Angela Mary Magic, thank you so much for the super chat. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Happy Saturday to you. Angela says, "Love your channel so much." I'm so glad. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. This is more fun for me than you could imagine. It's just like hanging out with my best of buds. Leg says, "It just shows how much they are truly not modern. Gone are the ways, or is it the days where people are subjects and adore the attention of their oppressor. Also, what took them so long to come? They had 10 years, absolutely. And as the future, and at the time, as the future, it seems like they would have tried to cultivate a relationship with people in the Commonwealth since they were in place to inherit all of these things. But that complete lack of imagination between themselves and, of course, those kids that work for them, of course, I'm speaking of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, that not very much a melting pot of humanity that they call their staff, except for the driver in the back who was invited just to take the picture, and then he had to leave, which is why he's not even lined up with the people in the back of the photo. There's no diversity there, and that's why you have photos. Oh, by the way, speaking of lack of diversity, and anyway, speaking, I'll just say it. You guys know that this is coming back again. The ill-fated Christmas Carol is coming back. That event where the Duchess of Doolittle pretended to play the piano whilst thinking about the Duchess of Sussex the entire time. Where she did a edited video and then inserted that into the final release of the actual event, which was not live from Westminster Abbey and did not have much of an audience. Well, ITV is going to do it all over again. And so you'll be able to see the Cambridges pretending to like each other sitting in the Westminster Abbey for a Christmas Carol show that nobody is going to watch. And of course, we'll get another chance, most likely, to see the Phantom of Westminster Abbey sit at the piano and pretend like she knows how to play, and even though she's repeating those same three keys over and over and over again. Kind of reminds me of that movie. I think it was The Bad Seed. Oh man, could you hear my comments dripping with the stain? I think I did. But yes, the Christmas Carol is coming back. And again, remember, they only call it a Christmas Carol because that's how they're going to introduce the newest working royal, that Carol Middleton, to the rest of the world. Yes, Carol Middleton at some point is going to have a more prominent role in the royal family. I promise you that is forthcoming. Just give it a little time. Anyway, so we were talking about that ill-fated, unnecessary trip to the Caribbean where they lost half the Commonwealth. Just only half of it was lost. Not the entire thing, but Australia, Canada, and let's not even count the Commonwealth, because don't forget, there will be a March for Independence on May the 6th. A March for Independence on May the 6th in Wales, and also the in Scotland. And of course, there's going to be more conversations about turning Northern Ireland into just plain the Irish Republic. all of that stuff is coming up. And all of it is happening on Charles III's watch. Yeah, Princess Diana predicted all of these things in one way or the other, and it seems as though it's about to happen soon, very soon. Okay, so that was a very interesting article. The captions, or should I say, the photos they included were the ones on the right, along with this illustration on the left, which is my new favorite thing. You can see "Not Your Land." Uh, what is that? Say you're sorry. Okay, and pay us what you owe us. All of that stuff came out of that visit. As a matter of fact, one of our favorite characters from that visit, of course, was the one who confronted William directly.
That's Prince. Trenchtown wants $245 billion. That's what Trenchtown wants. $345 billion. Yes, thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what Trenchtown wants. Yes. What do you mean?
Yes, that is how we got to know Trenchtown Man. Well, there were so many epic moments. There were so many epic moments in that visit. And one of my favorites, of course, is the Trenchtown Man. Yep. And of course, let's celebrate it in song. Trenchtown Man was singing his song.
That's Prince.
Sing his song all day long.
That's Prince.
Oh man. William looked like he was about to poop his pants, didn't he? Poor William didn't know which way to turn. Trenchtown Man came in fast and came in hot like a missile, and poor William didn't know what to do. You could see the look of panic all over his smug little face when he said, "Hey, Prince, Trenchtown won $335 million. Yeah, what do you mean?" Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, $340 billion. That's what Trenchtown want. What do you mean? Woo! And I promise you guys, I would not be surprised if Trenchtown Man did not make his appearance in Boston when the the Welleses show up. I would not be surprised if we don't see another appearance from Trenchtown Man emerging from the crowd yelling,
That's Prince.
That is going to happen. I promise you, you guys. We got to find his GoFundMe. Audrey Teschner, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Happy Saturday to you. And thank you so much for being here. Yeah, thank all of you guys for spending your Saturday with me. I just realized that it's Saturday. You guys could have been anywhere. And you guys are spending time on Royal Sussex. Kids indoors say, I need Trenchtown Man to be at Chuckles' coronation with bullhorn saying, King Charles. Charles has his own heckler. As you know, Charles has his own heckler. So, okay. This is who I wanted. If I had my choice of who should be at the coronation, I'm going to choose Stacey Solomon. You guys remember her, right?
I just don't get it. I don't get any of it.
What do you mean? You don't get what?
I don't get why we're so obsessed with these humans that are exactly the same. Like, it could be us four sitting there. I just don't get it.
But are you talking about
What, you mean as royals or
Yeah.
as, like, Kim Kardashian? Because for me, they're becoming celebrities.
Well, yeah, to me, that's all they are.
The Queen
is their celebrity.
For me, is
I love the
brilliant.
I love
Queen.
the
What?
Queen.
No,
For duty, responsibility,
She's always
figurehead.
worked really hard, hasn't
I would
she?
work hard if the whole country paid for me to have like 12 houses and work really hard.
They don't pay for all of the houses. But
Just a few.
I love the way she comes in. I love the Queen. I mean, just like a robot. I love the Queen. Oh, all of those people on that panel are just programmed, aren't they? I love the Queen. Of course you do. So, okay, here's my opinion. As much as they try to blame the Sussexes for the Queen's problems and the fact that the Queen was suffering from some pretty bad health toward the end, you got the trip to the Caribbean, which included the Wessexes. You also had, of course, her wayward son, this one. Jeepers, creepers, where'd you get those peepers? You got this guy, right? I mean, he couldn't have made things easy for her. I mean, because of him, she had to pay 12 million plus pounds to somebody he didn't know for something he didn't do. Now, if that's not enough to put you away, I don't know what would, but they had to come up with money to pay over 12 million pounds. We don't even know the exact figure for somebody he never met for something he didn't do. Remember how they said, oh, we're going to have a vigorous defense and we're not going to just take this. And they tried to do all that stuff. Well, in spite of all of those, wolf tickets they were selling, what happened? They ended up paying a lot of money to somebody he never met for something he didn't do officially. But it was enough to convince a court in the United States to tell them to up that money or else. Well, not a court, but you know what I mean. They settled. There was a settlement for something he never did. Okay, to somebody he never met because he couldn't sweat. So you got that going on. And there's such a variety of things like losing half the Commonwealth. All of that stuff, if you ask me, contributed to her problems. But what did not contribute to the Queen's problems at the end was the fact that she just loved the Sussexes. Even to the point where she actually got everybody out of the house and made sure that they could not be interrupted and invited the Sussexes to come and see her so she could speak to them directly for a change without having to go through the courtiers and such. Now that is a fact. The rest of that stuff, well, and of course, losing half the Commonwealth. I mean, look at what it did to the Queen's disposition. How embarrassing for her. The thing that was most important to her was the Commonwealth, and sending those two boobies to go and try and celebrate the Queen's 70 years on the throne, the Platinum Jubilee. That was a huge, huge mistake. So instead of trying to blame the Sussexes for it, just consider the rest of the family. You know, it's not exactly the story that the newspapers want to sell, but even though I have this very small platform, I am going to say my side of things. I'm going to say my opinion about things. It's not the Sussexes that caused her distress. It was the rest of that family, the rest of that wacky clan of people who really don't know how to do their jobs, no matter whether they've been hanging around that family for some 20 years and still can't talk, still can't do anything. The only thing that's a strength for this one is to pretend like she's someone else. That's it. And then all that money they take from charities for like the Earth Flop, where they had this big gala. Oh my goodness. Look at the man in the tuxedo. Look at all of the security and the gates. And the only thing is missing is a crowd of spectators. There's just that one family that were on their way to the Waitrose to get something for dinner, just some little carry out or something. And whatever takeaway they were going to heat and eat, they just happened to see this, what was supposed to be a big event. Nobody watched it on TV. Nobody showed up to cheer and celebrate. The only people that were there were the ones who received invitations. And, it was just like a big flop. It was like a big fat nothing burger. And this was supposed to be the thing that was going to put the Cambridges on the map. And William, just for fun, even dressed up like the Mitchum Roll-On deodorant bottle, hoping to gain attention. Even that didn't work. So you had Earth Flop, you had A Christmas Carol, all of these things that all of these things that were supposed to really push the Cambridges, now the Welleses, into the very heights of popularity, and none of it worked. The only thing that ever draws attention, you have to mention Harry and Meghan, otherwise there is no story. And they're blowing through money like you wouldn't believe. All of that, going to the Christmas Carol and pretending like you know how to play the piano, and you end up looking like the Phantom of Westminster Abbey, or you go to the Earth Flop and you put on a how come so it seemed like somebody should have stopped him and said, "Sir, are you aware of Mitchum Roll-On deodorant, sir? Sir?" Nobody did that because, well, of course, they're afraid of him and his fragile ego. But nobody stopped this man as he was walking out the door and said, "Hey, mate, here, mate, fancy Mitchum roll on?" Nobody said anything to him. They just let him walk out the door. And, well, it didn't get any better. I mean, it started off being a bottle of Mitchum roll on, and then it continued to that big fat nothing burger where nobody even showed up. Just a family of four with a little baby in the pram on their way to the Waitrose. And that's it. They were outnumbered by security, photographers, policemen on motorcycles, street sweepers, garbage collectors. You had all that and a family of four, pushing, as they thought, pushing their way past the crowd to see what's going on. Looks to me like they have a HD panoramic view. They're not obstructed in the least. I'm surprised they didn't invite them to come in. I'm sure there were plenty empty seats. They probably could have had a luxury box, given how many people didn't show up, didn't even know anything about it, and wasn't going to watch anyway. Oh man, I can't wait for Boston. They're going to have to do a lot of talk about Sussexes to get people to pay attention to Boston. Otherwise, you hear absolutely nothing about it. I haven't even seen anything for like Boston television, the same way that well, as you know, the Duchess of Sussex will be in Indianapolis on the 29th of November. They won't stop talking about it on their news, but the local news in Boston, nothing, not a thing. You don't see or hear anything about them going to that little dull event that whatever that they're supposed to showcase or what have you. I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty lame. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see how they try to spin it into a big event. What's that, Baron? Look at the smug. I'm sorry, the smog in the background. How ironic. Plus, all right, you're right about that. I'm looking now. Let me see. Plus, play Katie's Zoom chat with Charity. She hadn't visited for 10 years. You know what? I don't have that one, but I do recall where the guy said, "Well, it's actually what was that?" He said he said it was like 8 years. He said, "Well, ma'am, it's actually." She's like, "Oh, I haven't been here in a long time." Well, it's actually been 8 years, royal patron. It's been 8 years you haven't been here, and that's why there's actually I saw it on Twitter where they had a report about how charities associated with the royals, and this is not a squatty report, this is a whole nother report, how little difference the royal family makes when it comes to them being patrons of various charities. And I don't even need a report to know that it doesn't make a difference. In the United States, we do not have a government that pays for our Olympic athletes. That is all done privately. A lot of things that happen here are done privately. And then, of course, some municipalities or states or whatever will foot the bill for things. But there's very few events like the Olympics where the federal government is actually throwing money out there. These are all privately sponsored events. And there's not a royal patron in sight. Not a royal patron in sight. We don't need them. It's not necessary. Anyway, thank you so much for the super chat, Black Queen, and thank you so much for being a member and as well as a moderator and watching Royal Sussex. Okay, so where are we here? Oh, let me get rid of. There we go. And so there we go. So one of the most popular T-shirts at the time of their tour was "Not Today, Colonizer." Not today, Satan. Well, it was "Not Today, Colonizer." I'm just kidding. That did not happen, but it would have been cool if it would have. And so the Queen, sadly, toward the end, the Queen had to realize that the thing that she was going to depend on, well, the people that she was going to depend on, they actually, one of the, I think it was the Metro, tried to spin it and say, "Magnificent Seven, senior royals to help with Queen's duties until spring while she rests." If that's what she was leaning on for help, oh, no wonder. Poor Lilibet. Poor Your Majesty. If this is what was supposed to help you through the rough times. Okay, let me ask this question. If they were going to help her, who was going to help them? That's the question. It's not so much who's going to help her, who's going to help them, because they need somebody to help them help her. Because by themselves, the Magnificent Seven, there's nothing magnificent about those people. Nothing. Nothing at all. You got Afro Annie heading to the lighthouse. You got the Cambridges working about twice a month. You got the Wessexes, they show up and nobody cares. And of course, same with Charles and his emotional pet, Camilla. They show up and nobody really cares. So poor Lizzie. I mean, to think that she was going to her glory, realizing that that riffraff was all that was supposed to carry that family for the next 50 years. I mean, that's just pretty sad. It is. It is. I don't see how that was supposed to work. But, you got to do what you can with what you have to work with. And so my point is that I'm going to reiterate that point one more time. It wasn't the Sussexes that was the big problem for the Queen. It was the Magnificent Seven. Those were the ones that would cause the sleepless nights, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, my information is, well, yeah, some insider told me. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that too. I'm going to do just like Lady C. Well, someone at a party that knew someone who collected the garbage, who ran into someone at the Marks and Spencer, said that they heard that the Queen was in great despair because of the Magnificent Seven. Yeah, so I can do just like Lady C. I'll just make up stuff. Well, I mean, I'll use my sources. I will use my sources and insiders, people who went to a party with somebody they bumped into at the um, Marks and Spencers, who went to school with the clerk at the Marks and Spencers, who just so happened to have stood in one of those food bank lines with somebody that they knew. And that is where I got that solid information from, that the Queen's biggest anguish toward the end was the Magnificent Seven. Yes, that's where I got that information from. I'm just as accurate as Lady C. I'm just as accurate as Lady C. There's no reason. There's no reason why my information is not as airtight as hers. Yeah, I can do that. As a matter of fact, you guys remember my body language video? I did okay with that too. So, yeah, I can do like Lady C and know somebody who knew somebody that ran into somebody that might have been there with somebody. I can do that too. And except I don't. Which is really so sad. The people with the hate channels, they have like, especially Lady C. As far as I'm concerned, that's a hate channel. And Lady C routinely gets some huge numbers of people who wake up with this desire to hate. I tell you, the only thing that I can't do that Lady C does, I don't look like a nickel. That's the only thing that she has on me that I cannot achieve is I don't turn sideways and look like a nickel. If I could do that, then I could truly, truly embody the power of Lady C. But until then, I'll just have to mutter along the way I've been doing. So I forgot what I was even talking about. Oh, I was talking about the Magnificent Seven, wasn't I? That's what I was talking. I totally forgot. But yes, I was talking about the Magnificent Seven and how that must have caused the Queen a great deal of anguish and disappointment toward the end of her life. And that's really sad because instead of trying to focus on the Sussexes' struggle for freedom, which of course the Queen totally understood, and dare I say, in her own way, likely supported them, knowing how rotten the rest of the family was, she probably was glad that they escaped and that Harry was finally happy. And the only way that they could try to make it seem like they are missing out on something, they have to keep pushing this narrative how unhappy the Sussexes are, when it's truly the Magnificent Seven that probably caused a great deal of anguish for the Queen. And let us not forget her son, who she had to pay all that money out for something he didn't do to somebody he never met. So there's that going on. So that's my version of things. I think it's just as accurate as anybody else's, and I'm going to stick with that for now. Uh, yeah, yeah. That's my assessment of things. I think that that is one of the things that caused the Queen a great deal of pain and anguish toward the end, was the dreaded thought of those ill-suited people taking over for her one day, inheriting the throne, and pretty much running the institution into the ground because they're so ill-suited for purpose, unfit for purpose. Yeah, that's what that was the Queen's reaction. That was her reaction. Poor Lizzie. Anyway, you guys, I'm gonna move on. So if you take a look here, um, Angela Levin, Angela Latrine had the nerves to go on some talk show, and she made some comment about Meghan using using her stationery, still using her stationery, and of course using her title, the Duchess of Sussex. That's not just her title, that is a family title that was gifted her by the Queen upon marriage. Only the Parliament could take that away, not King Charles III, not William the Nobody. That is an act of Parliament. And of course, if you take her title away, then you would have to consider other people that have caused embarrassment. I mean, really caused embarrassment for the family, not a fictitious embarrassment based on the hatred from the tabloids who want clickbait, but people who really have caused problems. I mean, people who have just about ended the monarchy as we know it, and not just that one, but the person sitting on the throne, the adulterer with his emotional support, Camilla, sitting on the throne. They shouldn't even be there. This is the head of the Church of England. He's the head of the church and a known adulterer. These two, look at them. And they're talking about Meghan using her stationery. This is the head of the church and his wife. And everybody knows what they've done. I don't care how they spin it. I don't care how they try to call Diana crazy or depressed or insane. Whatever they want to say, I don't believe any of that was true. I believe that they, you know, created situations that made life difficult for her. And everybody knows that too. But this is the head of the church and his wife, the head of the church. It's not even just so much that he's divorced, it's the fact that he admitted to being and anyway. So why keep messing with the Sussexes? Meghan is entitled to use her stationery. She's entitled to use her title. This is something that comes with being the wife of the Duke of Sussex, and she will use this for the rest of her life. She's always going to be the Duchess of Sussex. That's not going to change. So for Angela Levin to go on television and try to throw that in there as if her word means anything, is she still using her stationery? And after all, she's a Hollywood actress, and she shouldn't be allowed to use her title and her stationery since she wanted her privacy, which they never said they wanted their privacy. That's something that Mrs. Magoo made up herself. Well, all of those correspondents made it up, but they never said that. That you never heard the Sussexes say, "Oh, we want our privacy." That's something they made up. Privacy from being in having someone send a drone to overfly your property. Privacy from going to your rental property um, and sharing all the logistics of the location with a world that seems to be crazy. Yeah, they want privacy from that. So, yes, Meghan is entitled to use her stationery because it is part of who she is. She's the Duchess of Sussex. So, her cipher, which is included on the stationery, is hers to use. How about the Duchess of York? The Duchess of York, who is divorced from the Duke of York, and nobody says anything about her using that title. Anyway, the way this happened is because someone posted this on the Instagram. I love listening to Archetypes with Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. However, I am partial to today's episode, to be or not to be, linked in my bio, because it does such important work dissecting and trying to understand the archetype of the B word. She doesn't use the word in the episode, a choice I didn't expect. Perhaps I should have, but one that I really appreciate considering her incredible influence and reach. It's a word that I work hard to avoid because of what I know about where it comes from and how it has been used systematically to derogate women thrilled to be part of this meaningful project touched by this. Well, she got this note from the Duchess of Sussex, and like so many other people, it is going to be a highly valued prized possession because it's from the Duchess of Sussex, the most relevant, the most popular, and dare I say, the most well known, hardest working, well, the Sussexes are the hardest working royals. So, yeah, it is something to appreciate, something that I would keep and probably even frame. And so there's nobody actually saving. You know what they call a saved letter from Angela 11? You know what they call a letter that people save from Angela 11? Evidence. If I had a letter from Angela 11, I wouldn't call it a keepsake. I wouldn't call it a prized possession. I'd call it exactly what it is, evidence. So for the Duchess of Sussex, when she writes a letter, it's a prized possession. And when Angela the Troll Levin writes a letter, it's evidence because you never know when you're going to have to use that in the future. So if you ever receive a letter, an email, or even a tweet from Angela Levin, you never know if that will be used for evidence in the future. I would say there's a good chance that it will, but I would talk to my solicitor about that if I were you. Okay, so remember today's talking point. A letter from Meghan is a prized possession. A letter from Angela Levin, that there's evidence. Evidence! Okay, so moving on. Oh, I love her. Wishing Tulsa Race Massacre survivor, Mother Leslie B. Randall, a happy 108th birthday. She is a living legend. Well, she actually survived the Black Wall Street massacre, the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. If you don't know the history, back in 1921, was it? They had that massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And as a child, she witnessed the massacre of a black neighborhood, all because of some racially charged accusation against a black person. And anyway, Mother Leslie, she witnessed that as a child, and she's 108 years old today. And of course, she is a living legend. So she is an eyewitness to one of the most tragic diabolical events in the United States history. They literally bombed that neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And the most recent thing I heard about it is that they were trying to locate the mass graves so that they can get an accurate count, or as accurate as possible, of how many African Americans died in that event. There were several riots and race wars in the United States, and a lot of the records are usually records that were kept by the local news, which would say that X amount of black people died and maybe a couple of white people were injured or something like that. But the big disadvantage was the African American community, they only had each other, whereas the white community could rely upon the National Guard, the local sheriff, and police agencies. And a lot of times they would look at the black community living in some pretty posh circumstances. Um, Quiet as it's kept, there's a lot of black people that were rich back in those days, especially in comparison to some of the white towns located nearby. They were involved in trade and commerce. And so, because of the prosperity in Tulsa, in this community, I believe it's called Greenwood, they referred to it as Black Wall Street. And that's because when you think of Wall Street, of course, you think of prosperity. So I'm just guessing. That's the only reason I could think why they would call it that. But yeah. So that is an eyewitness to history, and thank goodness she was able to tell the story, because there's a lot of survivors who just wouldn't talk about it, and that's the real sad thing about some of these events is that um, you take the community of Rosewood in Florida. There were so many black people that survived that who never spoke about it again. There's a lot of people who never spoke about these massacres, these riots, and race wars. They never spoke about it, but that's not the case with Mother Leslie. She decided to speak out about um, yeah, you know what? That's a better word for it. It was racist terrorism. You're absolutely right. Racist terrorism. So, anyway, thank goodness for an eyewitness. And as you can see, for her 108th birthday, she has been showered with lovely gifts, including a Coach bag. Check out that Coach bag. Come on, Mother Leslie. Come on. Come through. Okay. Yesterday, and by the way, you guys, I'm not done yet because I got some more stuff to share with you. But yesterday, Sherry Ware was nice enough to put a list together. But because of the emotional close of Royal Sussex yesterday, I didn't get an opportunity to share it. So that was the donations from Friday. Thank you, Elaine Parker, Black Queen, Chef Sandy Love, Sheila Clemens McKay, Lelaine McCahey, Phyllis Johnson, Legs, Connie Bomber, Shelly, um, Catherine Bryant for 6 months membership, H Knight for 7 months membership, Black Queen 6 months, and Kathy for yet another um, another one of those. Thank you, donation. Thank you so much. Now, don't forget, you guys, always be different. If you think that the field around you is getting crowded, if you think that people are trying to control you and trying to get you to be just another cog in the wheel, another drone, or another whatever, be different. Step outside of that space and be different. That's one of my favorite memes. And then there's this. How about check that out? Self reflection. I was wrong to buy Twitter. I was wrong to invade Ukraine. And of course, Melania was wrong about Dr. Oz. Yeah. No matter how rich you are, or how rich you pretend to be, or how powerful you think you are, you can't always get it wrong. Thank you so much, the squatty that shared that with me. And Rule Britannia. Now, you guys, I would say, and I'm not, I don't think this is a spoiler, but in the Crown, as I said, I was going to talk more about the Crown. In the Crown, they had this big dramatic scene that probably never happened, where the Queen had this dramatic farewell to Britannia. And I'm not talking about that event where she was seen in tears. Not that one. This one was something completely different. There was no crowd. There was no tears of despair at the loss of the Britannia. But instead, this was something that I think was just thrown into the mix. I'm also going to say that that argument with Charles and Diana, in one of the last episodes, I think that was a bunch of hooey. Peter, whatever his name is, he seemed to be favoring the Queen, Charles, Camilla, and the rest of that family. He seemed to be quite in favor of them, with the way he has told this story. So all of this stuff about, oh, the royal family, and oh, what is this going to do to the family, and how upsetting this is, and it should have a disclaimer. BS. It was a big fat nothing burger. There was no there. There was nothing that the royal family should have been the least bit of concerned about. It was very clear that they were trying to tell us that the relationship with Philip and Penny Natchbull, that relationship was just as wholesome, and that they just talked about driving those carriages and such, and um, it was supposed to be ambiguous so that we wouldn't think the worst. And they did a good job of it. I'm willing to be open and say maybe that's exactly what it was. But that's what they want us to do, is to say, yeah, maybe it was just that. That's what they want us to do. That's the way they want us to see it. That's the way they want it to play. They wanted to play as though it was all just a big misunderstanding, and that the public doesn't know what it's talking about. And the tabloids were right to not make a big deal out of it. That is what we are supposed to glean from that story. And then, of course, the whole thing with Charles and Diana. Charles is just this misunderstood person who wants to modernize the royal family. Okay, I heard you loud and clear, but two things can be true at the same time: that Charles is a complete you know what, and he wants to slim down the monarchy. He doesn't care about the Britannia, even though he spent enough time on it. Um, and there you go, right there. There is something that looks inconsistent. How could you be so worried about the Britannia, but yet you spend more time on the Britannia than your mama, and that's her boat? How is it you're spending more time on the Britannia than your mama, and you want to get rid of it? But that's the message that we got from the Crown, is that Charles was just anxious to move forward, and that he wants to modernize the royal family and get rid of that bloody boat forever. I can't bear it. I can't bear this bloody boat. And who threw that egg and nearly ruined my suit? That is what we're supposed to get from this whole thing, is that Charles the modernizer and his mother, steeped in tradition. Um like I said, it was no there. There was absolutely no teeth whatsoever in this last episode of The Crown. Nothing. There was nothing there. It was much to do about nothing. I don't know what the fuss was about. I didn't see anything that should have upset anybody. Not a thing. It's embarrassing how washed down and washed out and whitewashed and it should be embarrassing. There was absolutely nothing there. I'm trying to. I mean, I've gone through it in my mind. I'm just like, okay, well, where's the controversy? The only thing that I got out of The Crown this season, and mind you, I watched every episode. Sydney Johnson, that was the only thing that was interesting. The rest of it was as dull as dishwater. Do you hear me? Dull as dishwater. Now, they say the way to watch The Crown is with your uh, Wikipedia. I agree with that because if you just depend on the storyline, you won't get much. Yeah, zero teeth. You're absolutely right. Zero teeth. It was embarrassing that they made such a big stink about it, and that was just to try to prevent people from watching nothing. I couldn't stand how how much this thing played into Charles and the Queen's legacy and memory. I couldn't stand it. I could not stand. Oh, why do I keep doing that? I couldn't stand how helpful this was to them. Yeah, I mean, just um, okay. So you have the big argument with Charles and Diana that probably never happened. You had the what is it? The Queen saying farewell to the Britannia, which probably never happened. Again, the farewell is not the one with the crowd, but one where she wanted to spend some time on the ship by herself. There's not a camera in sight, and I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Yes, Connie Balmer, I saw that. They just need one more seat, and the Dems can hold on to the Senate until we flip the House back again, which will happen. But yeah, it's embarrassing. The Crown season 5 was ridiculous and gross. I thought they modified the final episode because of Lizzie's passing. They also leaned into making Diana seem crazy. They did do that, Angela Mary Magic. They did work very hard to make Diana seem crazy and paranoid, and also to make her relationship with William seem rather inappropriate, like she was leaning on him too much. Yeah, they went out of their way to push that narrative. You make your decisions about Philip and Penny. That's my take. But are all grown people here? That's how they left it in the Crown. You have to think between the lines in watching um, the Crown. Well, Joyce Voss, yes, a lot of thinking between the line, but to me, I'm seeing that it really favored a positive view of Charles and Philip and the Queen. Like, for instance, it's like throwing a little meat, like throwing a little meat, a little snack just to keep us involved. Like the whole thing with Philip going over there to threaten Diana. Well, that was a little salacious part meant to make us believe. But then again, then after that, they completely remove Philip from Diana, and that's the end of it. I mean, again, the cinematography was lovely, and that little part with the Queen that they added on at the end. Oh my God, that was so boring. It was just I if that's their way of paying a tribute to the Queen, they should have just had something narrated or whatever. But if you ask me, the entire crown was, as Peter, what's his name, said, This is really a love letter to the Queen. It's just like the movie The Queen. You don't walk away from that feeling ill will against the Queen. And I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying it didn't hurt the Queen at all. This doesn't hurt the Queen. And it doesn't hurt Charles. And it doesn't hurt Philip. It doesn't hurt anybody but Diana. If the point of it was to hurt Diana, mission accomplished. But Charles looks like, oh, but I had to marry you. That's why. I mean, let's face it, Diana was a child. She was a child. She was a teenager when she married him. And she was right. You were always an old man. Everybody was just doing their duty and fulfilling their role except for Diana. Diana gets the label crazy, but the rest of them were just doing their duty. I can't stand it. I don't like it. I think they have done so much to besmirch her memory and to create this narrative about insanity and such. They really did a job on Diana. As far as I'm concerned, this was like sticking a knife in her back. It really was. The person who made that family relevant, the person who actually brought the audience to the crown or any other thing about that family, any other story about that family, is Diana. The movie The Queen was about Diana. It wasn't about the Queen. The only thing that they could do to make the Queen relevant for the movie The Queen was to use Diana. And as far as the crown, okay, the crown was this big love letter to the Queen. And in order to build up the Queen, you had to use Churchill, you had to use Philip, you had to use Charles and Camilla. You had to use all these people to tell the story about the Queen. We don't know anything more about the Queen going into the crown than we do know about her coming out of the crown. It doesn't say what she's done, except for she was a mechanic during the war and she drove ambulance or whatever, not an ambulance, but a whatever truck. That's all we know. Oh, and she, be it long or be it short, I pledge my life for you, me, and our imperial family. We know that speech. And what's the other speech? The horrible anus speech? Her castle burned down? And then they even made a big deal about that the Queen has a right to complain about it. She never asked for anything. You know, that big speech that Philip gives, she never asked for a single thing. She never puts a foot wrong. Now tell me that is supposed to be detrimental to the royal family. Tell me that that is supposed to have hurt the Queen after she died or even before she died. I don't see it. I don't see it. And all day yesterday, I kept saying during the show, I said, well, if you haven't seen The Crown, you should watch it. Don't take my word for it. Oh, make sure you watch The Crown. And then I saw those last two episodes. I'm like, what in the frappuccino is this? Ugh. Okay. If you have Netflix, watch it. If you don't have Netflix, watch it. It was a good series. I'm just telling you, the last two episodes is going to be a bit of a disappointment. And that whole little scene on the Britannia, I'm just like, now this is some crap if I've ever seen it. Let me say, King Egalot is a repulsive, slimy individual, and his canine cohort will rot in hell for all they did to Diana. Her memory will forever haunt both of those evil jackasses. Cookies and Cream, they did a job on her, and they did absolutely nothing in this series to represent how awful they were to Princess Diana. Not a thing. It does not even play into in any kind of way. It doesn't mention any of the nasty stuff that was done to Diana. Not in the least bit. I don't remember seeing any of it. By the way, whoever sent me a PayPal, thank you so much. First initial S. Thank you so much for that. Greatly appreciated. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. But yeah, embarrassingly shallow, that show. Embarrassingly shallow. They did absolutely nothing. There's nothing there about the way Diana was treated. It only says that she and Charles, that Charles disappointed her and Charles went, but it is nothing about the way the two of them conspired against her. That has been completely omitted. No reference whatsoever. Now we're supposed to believe, okay, Camilla got up from the table and her kids were looking. That may or may not have happened. But what about Camilla and Charles conspiring against Diana? That did happen. I don't remember seeing a reference to it, not in the least bit. There was nothing that would make Charles say, you know what, that Peter, what's his name? I don't ever want to see him again. There was nothing like that there. Not a thing. And as for the guy that plays Charles this season, the one who looks too good to be Charles, he could still sit down and have dinner with Charles. There was nothing there that would embarrass Charles. Charles looks like he was trapped in a system, that he's never done anything malicious in his life. That's all you get out of it, is that Charles was trapped. We're all trapped. Okay. So with that, you guys, and by the way, I think Sherry, did you send me a list? I'm gonna share this with you guys. Stick around if you want to. If not, that's cool. But I am going to finish out with my day on board the Royal Yacht Britannia. Yes, out of my many travels, I actually spent an afternoon on board the Britannia. And the actually, I don't think this photo is mine. This is a photo I had to get from social media or from Google, because you don't really get a view of the ship like this. The way they have it set up is that the ship is completely blocked by a shopping mall, which is supported by your trip to the Britannia. And so that shopping mall is in the way. So you don't get a clear view of it. As close as you get is when you get on board. Not even from a distance, I couldn't find a view of Britannia. So there I am, an aging, over caffeinated, chubby baby boomer from the U.S. on board the HMS Britannia. I mean, sorry, HMY, Her Majesty's Yacht Britannia. HMY Britannia. And this is my view as I walked on board. Now, what happens is, let me show you something. You see that silver thing right there, that column? That is actually a staircase, an elevator. So you walk from the mall across that tunnel, that catwalk or bridge, bridge. You walk across that bridge to the stairway. And so when you get to the stairway, you can start from the top to the bottom. And so when you get in, you walk across over to the ship, tour that deck, and then back out to the steps. Walk over to the ship, tour that deck, and then back down the steps. And that's how you go from one deck to the other, is you use that staircase. So you don't actually use the steps inside the ship or the yacht. You use the ones inside of that bridge there. So that is how you go from one deck to the next. Okay, and so this is me probably on one of the lower decks, and you can see that gold livery on the side of the ship, the gold stripe, the same that they use for the Queen's State Bentley. They put that gold stripe on it. And there you have one of the minty. There's one of the many Rolls Royces that belong to the Queen. The official state car was presented to Her Majesty the Queen in 1960 and is on loan with with the kind permission of Bentley Motors Limited. So Bentley actually, um, or should I say, Rolls Royce Bentley, same company, they actually loaned the car to the Royal Yacht Britannia, and so the car is actually on board. Now, they did actually take the car around the world with them. There were several places where they actually took their own car. Most times they would just depend on the local car, but Church Nelly, I'm not paying you no attention. Um, I know you're going to watch. Church Nelly seems to be in distress. She's asking for
Police! 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 Help! Police! Help! Police! Help! Help! Police! Help!
Church Nelly's reaction to my travel videos is she wants to bring the popo in on it. Oh man. So anyway, you can see that beautiful hood ornament on the Rolls Royce. In case you guys don't know, it is called Spirit of Ecstasy. The hood ornament for the Rolls Royce has a name. It is called the Spirit of Ecstasy. The Count of Montague's mistress was actually used as the model for the Spirit of Ecstasy. Ironically, she died in a car accident, not associated with a Rolls Royce, by the way, but she died in a car accident, and I don't think she ever got a chance to actually see the hood ornament that was used for the Rolls Royce all these years. The reason why they created the Spirit of Ecstasy is because back in those days, well, actually in Britain, they call it a mascot. We call them hood ornaments in the US. They refer to them as a mascot. The mascots were actually custom made. Like, for instance, the Queen has her own custom made mascot. The Queen never uses the Spirit of Ecstasy. The Queen would only use the St. George slaying a dragon for her hood ornament. She had her own custom hood ornament. And when she's not using the vehicle, they take it off. And when she would use it, they would put it on. And so they would have it for other members of the royal family, but they didn't use it for the Queen. And so that's why they were interchangeable. Well, anyway, the Spirit of Ecstasy is a woman in a flowing gown on the um, grill of the car. And that is what the name of that is. It is called the Spirit of Ecstasy. Well, with a name like that, you could imagine she must have been a very good mistress. And there's the Queen's cabin, the Queen's state cabin, state room, or whatever on the Britannia. You can see the bed. There is her dressing table, and there is a jewelry box. Now, to get a good view like this, of course, they don't let you go inside the room. What happened is after they decommissioned the Britannia, they cut out the wall of the room. There's a big cutout, and they put this plate glass window in place. And so these photos were actually taken through a plate glass window, which is to separate you from the interior of the Queen's bedroom. And this is Prince Philip's room. Now, Philip's room is much larger, as you can see here. There's the Queen's bedroom, and there is Prince Philip's, much larger. And there is Prince Philip's desk where he has this commanding, um, view of the water and everything. And there is the electric fireplace. Because they didn't want to have a fire at sea, they only ever used the electric fireplace, which I think is kind of interesting. But yeah, it's not like today's modern electric gas fireplaces. It's the old technology from the 50s. Well, really, probably from the 1940s. But yeah, everything was electric on board. So there's a coil inside that heats up and radiates heat into the room. And so there's several fireplaces on the Britannia, but that is the kind that they use were the electric ones. And there is the desk up close. You can see there is a communication board there. And if you notice, there's a little plush animal. Now, those plush animals, you might let me see if there's one in the Queen's bedroom. I don't see it, but it may be there, but I don't see it. But yeah, they had those all over the ship. There was even one, if you look at the picture of the Rolls Royce, look all the way in the back. See the photo on the right side? If you look all the way on the left side of the photo on the right, you can see that tan thing right there. That is actually a corgi, not a real corgi, but a stuffed animal corgi. And there's one also here on the desk, as you can see. So they had these all over the ship. So as you take a tour of the ship or the yacht, you kept seeing these corgis. Well, the reason why they had those is because they were hoping by the time you walked through the gift shop that you would buy one. So that was their way of promoting those, was to show them all over. Oh, you know what? I think this was an office used by both the king and the queen. This is Philip's room. Okay, so the queen's bedroom, and this was their office, and this is the office, and this is Philip's bedroom, and you can see the desk in the corner that Philip would use. I think so, but I think they only showed the two bedrooms. And then this is the lounge of the saloon on the rear of the ship. So to the left is the rear deck of the ship that's used by the family. And this is like a sunroom. This is like their patio room. And so you can see the deck chair, you can see the plush sofa and everything. But this is the lounge where the royal family would relax so that they could, just lounge about as if the whole cruise was not relaxing and lounging. And of course, I don't think the ship was air conditioned at all. It may have been, but I don't think so. Back in those days, maybe it may have had some air conditioning. I don't think so, though. But yeah, so this is where the Queen and Philip would lounge about in the rear. You can see the easel back there for painting. And for Church Nellie, let me show you the feature that Church Nellie would like. There it is. There's the bar. That is the bar where they had the champagne and the port and all the Queen sherry and rum and stuff like that. And if you remember this view right here, there's Princess Diana with her arms wide open, waiting for Harry and William. Well, that is the same deck right there. So if you want to see what the deck looks like on the other side, I took a picture of it. So there's the port and starboard decks. That is an area of the ship that was used by the family. And of course, that is where they would board right there. Speaking of board, how's Church Nellie? Is she still here? Church Nellie, are you still here? Speaking of board. Okay, over there on the left, that is one of the lifeboats. And on the right, there is the various nautical flags that they used on the Britannia. And then this is the Queen's her, well, not lifeboat, but this is the I guess just the boat or yacht. What do they call it? Well, anyway, the dinghy or ferry. That's the Queen's ferry. So when the Queen is in port, of course the royal yacht would stay in the deep water, and then to get the Queen to the actual port or the actual dock, they would use this smaller boat that they would launch. So yeah, as you can see, way more luxurious than the lifeboats. The lifeboats was for the crew, and of course that is for the Queen. And that is a model of the Britannia. And you can see it had, looks like I'm counting, if it's two on the other side, I'm counting 4 lifeboats. I wonder if you could squeeze 50 people on there. Maybe, because they had a crew of about 200. Church Nelly jumped ship already. That's funny. Um, and there is the infirmary. That is where the doctor that traveled on board the Britannia, that is the infirmary that was used just in case anybody got sick. And there's another lounge that was used by the royal family. You can see the electronic fireplace again. There's another one with a mantle clock. Who doesn't have that? And this is the dining table. Now, this could double as a ballroom, but this is the royal dining table. As you can see, you could probably seat 50 or more people there. And I'm sure the table could actually extend longer because I think those tables in those niches on the side, they could actually probably make this much longer if they needed to. All right. And there's one of the menus. There is the silver. There's the glassware, the stemware. And this is the Royal Silver Collection. They had a pantry that was just for the silver that they polished all the time. And that, of course, is behind glass. But the table, you could actually just walk up to it. I mean, you could literally pull a chair out and sit down, except they have the ropes on one side there. You can see the ropes to the right side. But otherwise, you could literally just pull a chair and sit down. And all of this stuff is from the 1950s. I think it was like, what, 1952 or whatever, that they finished, or 53, they finished the ship. Originally, the Britannia was supposed to, it was the Queen's father was going to use it, but because her father died, Philip came along and changed the interior decor into something that looks more like a country cottage. If you notice, everything looks like a country cottage. I mean, you would think that the it would be more plush, but it really is very simple. You know, I would say very simple and elegant mid-century decoration, late 40s decoration. So nothing spectacular. The real luxury is just the fact that it's your ship. So, and this is the big living room, the big lounge saloon. This is the one that was used by the family as well as when they would have guests on board. They would use this big room for that. So that is a panoramic view with my camera. You can see the piano, which is bolted to the floor. And then this is an up close of that same seating area. See? This is me standing at a distance, and that is an up close view. Now, of course, it is roped off. We couldn't go right up to it. And as you can see, there's another one of those electronic fireplaces. So, um, very plush and comfortable, but otherwise, the interior was, yeah, I'm going to say it probably is air conditioned. The interior is pretty bland. Not so, you know, like I said, it looks very much like a country cottage. It looks like someone's country cottage. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You can see the pole right there. That's the rope. And then if you have that thing that describes all the rooms, you could push number 20 to hear about that room. And so these are the last photos. I didn't have time to post them individually. So I just took a big group of the images. The people playing in the little orchestra or little band, those are actually wax figures. Those are not real people. You can see these are the living quarters or the sleeping quarters for the crew. And I have a few more photos, but I didn't post them. But you can see the bunk bed. You can see the laundry room on the right. You can see um, all the other stuff. But yeah, it's there's the laundry. You can see a couple of images of that. They even have the Brillo detergent. So yeah, there's just a big view of everything. You can see more of the infirmary. And that's it, you guys. That's it for Her Majesty's Royal Yacht Britannia. It is permanently moored at the at a dock in Edinburgh, so it doesn't sail anywhere. It's still in water, but it doesn't go anywhere. Excuse me. So that's it for today. And let me see if I have a list. Let me see if I have a list. Yes, I do. Thank you, Sherry Ware. So today's donations are from Elaine Parker, Stephen Black, Rosalind Gatewood, Alan Vernon, Angela Mary Magic, Audrey Teschner, Black Queen, and the mystery person who donated money to the PayPal. Thank you all very much. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Oh, my throat is bad today. Makes one think that I talk too much. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. And I am looking for a last word of the day. Oh, yeah. You know what? I didn't realize that. Interesting. The decor leaves much to be desired. Yes, Jay, it's not flashy. But like I said, there was plans to do something more elaborate. But when when the King George, was it George the Sixth? When George the Sixth died, um, Prince Philip was like, you know what? In this time of austerity, after the war, it doesn't seem right to spend that much money to decorate the interior of the yacht. Plus, Philip and Betty, they didn't have that kind of taste. So Philip was left in charge of decorating the Britannia. And so it was his idea to scale things back to something more simplistic. Let's see. Let's look at those bedrooms again. Okay, the bedrooms. Yeah, there you go. So that's Philip's crib. And that is the office that they both used. And then this, of course, is the Queen's bedroom. Yeah, not too fancy at all, I would say. All right, guys. Thank you so much. What's that, Joy? Baron, we need more people like you in this world. You know how to lift people's spirit up. Thank you, Joy Amore. I'm so glad to hear that. I really, really appreciate hearing that. Andrew, you're a sick old man. Disgusting. Which is all very true. That is a sick old man and quite disgusting. I watched, I listened to that podcast, Celibacy, today, and they actually spoke about that. Let's see. Woo! Mary H is making gumbo. Uh-huh. All right. A good pot of gumbo could cost you at least $100 or more. Usually more, depending on how much crab you want to put in there. Crabs and shrimps. I haven't made gumbo in a while. Now, do you use that seasoning gumbo fila or gumbo filet? They have a seasoning that you can buy from the grocery store that is just for gumbo. Ooh, that sounds nice on a day like today. And then you got to get yourself a nice little baguette on the side, and you serve it over some rice and put some okra in there, and My neighbor used to make it. She used to throw some rag bologna in there, chop up that rag bologna. Um, what else? The smoked sausage. Ooh, talk about good. Uh. Now, what was we talking about before somebody said gumbo? I almost forgot, but yep. Love me some gumbo. Oh, thank you so much, Shelly. Oh, there we go. Shelly L, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. But yes, a good pot of gumbo. And you know what they say, gumbo ain't gumbo until the next day. Yeah, a lot of people are, oh yeah, gotta have it fresh. Gotta have nah. Yes, that's it. Gumbo filet. Gumbo filet. And it ain't real gumbo until the next day. When you heat it up the next day and all of them flavors and seasoning get a chance to mingle with each other, woo, that's some good eating. That is some good eating. Gumbo ain't gumbo until the next day. Now you eat some today, and then tomorrow, that's when gumbo is really gumbo. That is some of the best leftover you can have. Is that bowl of gumbo the next day? Mm, mm, mm. Yep, I had a neighbor from New Orleans, and at least once a week, sometimes every other week, she say, "If y'all want gumbo, you better go in there and vein them shrimps." And we be sitting there with our little pair of knives, breaking open them shrimps, pulling that little mud vein out. Yep, that was some good eating. Well, that takes me back. I hadn't thought about gumbo in a while. Oh man. Yep, that is good. Gumbo at New Year's, gumbo at Christmas, gumbo at Thanksgiving. There's never really a bad time to have gumbo. Oh, anyway, thank you so much for the memories. And thank you all for being here. And my last word of the day is that's the last word of the day. All those seasonings marinating overnight. That's our last word for the day. So thank you so much for that. And thank you everybody for watching Royal Sussex. And we are going to Ginger Avenger our way out of here. Remember, this has not been a Mark Goodson or a Bill Todson production. No animals were maimed or injured throughout this Royal Sussex. No one actually bought any of those corgis on board the Royal Yacht Britannia. Oh, but I did buy some fudge. When you walk through the Britannia, you kept smelling, oh, what is that? And that was another little trick they had to get you to buy something. They had a kitchen that produced fudge. And of course, I wouldn't be greedy if I didn't stop and get me a block of that fudge. I was like, oh, this is good. I don't eat fudge nowhere in the world, but when I was on the Britannia, I just had to have me a block of that fudge. So that also worked. Mm-mm. Okay, you guys, let's cue the Ginger Venge, and I will see you all tomorrow. Wait, where is Ginger Venge? There you go. All right, see you guys. How did I go over 2 hours? I just noticed that. I'm like, how did I talk for 2 hours? It don't even seem like it. And I call myself having a short Royal Sussex today, and somehow it is still 2 hours. Now, either I ain't paying attention, or I had a lot to say, or I talked too much. Anyway, cue Ginger Avenger. Well, how long was we talking about gumbo? Because I kind of lost track when we were talking about gumbo. Oh, cause we having fun. All right, Joey. I agree with you. All right. All right. So that's the last time. Cue Ginger Venge. I just love Once Upon a Time. Oh man. All right, I'll see y'all May the 6th. I'm not bringing any massage oils or anything of that nature. I'm just going to show up with bottled water to pass out. I'm not going to be tacky and show up with massage oils and all kind of, stuff from one of them stores or something. I'm just going to show up at the event to celebrate the new coronation or whatever it is and the emotional support person. And if I bring some massage oil, it'll just be in case I need it. That's all. But that's it. And I'm just going to be just another person in the crowd. I'm not looking for anybody in yellow. I'm just going to be there to observe and celebrate. That's it. There's nothing nefarious going on. That is the only purpose of me being at the coronation. I'm not there to make trouble. I won't say or do anything inappropriate to anybody, whatever they wear. I'm just there to observe. That's why I'm there. Okay, so oh man. Okay, you guys, see you tomorrow. Oh yeah, love you guys.